Well, really, Gwendolyn, I think there are a lot of much nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack? No, there's very little music in the name Jack, if any at all, indeed. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. I have known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, have been more than usually plain. Besides, Jack has a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any poor woman who is married to a man called John. She would probably never be allowed to know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude. The only really safe name is Earnest.
Well, surely you know that I love you, Miss Fairfax, and you led me to believe that you were not completely indifferent to me.
I adore you. But you haven't proposed to me yet. Nothing has been said at all about marriage. The subject has not even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable opportunity. And to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I think it's only fair to tell you, quite frankly, beforehand, that I am fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolyn.
Yes, Mr. Worthing, what have you got to say to me?
But you know what I have to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. How long you've been about it, I'm afraid you've had very little experience in how to propose.
I own one. The only one I've ever loved in the world is you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. What wonderfully blue eyes you have, Ernest. They're quite blue. I hope you will always look at me just like that, especially when there are other people present.
Good work. When he finally gets around to actually popping the question, be even more physical with it, like, this is the first time I've heard it. I thought you were going to ask me if I wanted a cup of tea or something like that, and suddenly you're asking me to marry you. So, even more of that expression would be beautiful. Really nice.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he is going to live or die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd. Nor do I in any way approve of the modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life.
Well, I've been on stage here many times myself, and I finally got round to putting my hand up and saying, I think it's time for me to have a go at directing. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I'm very, very privileged to have been given the opportunity by the theatre to start directing here on their 60th anniversary and direct a play that I was in myself about 11 years ago, The Importance of Being Earnest. I played Jack, and it was one of my favourite theatre experiences. It was a great show. And we're here today just putting some of the final touches to the set. We haven't got the lighting on at the moment, obviously, but it's amazing how much there is to do in the last couple of weeks leading up to the play. It seems like we've got so much to do and so little time, but somehow it all seems to come together, which is fantastic. And it's been an absolute thrill the whole time doing this play. And one of the reasons I've enjoyed it so much, apart from my first opportunity to direct, is that this is such a funny play. And one thing that happens often with comedies in theatre is that once we've done a scene or part of the play 20, 30 times, of course, we don't find it funny anymore. And what's happened in this production is that almost every rehearsal, the cast has me in stitches because they're continually bringing something new. And there have been times where literally I've had to stop rehearsal because I can't concentrate because I'm laughing so much. And even on stage, sometimes the actors are losing it because they're making each other laugh so much. So we will get that under control by opening night.
He said that's easily told. Any little girl that's a right little girl is the right little girl for me. She don't have to look like a girl in a book. If a good cook, she should